it's like we're going to be reduced to stereotypes when we're living in a world such as this, and nobody really knows who each other or what's going on.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. Yo, man. Oh, Miss Rusty. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Public Access Podcast, the podcast here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. I am your host, Rusty Diamond. I even put my phone number on there for you guys. I'm your host, Rusty Diamond. You can see my phone number if you go on YouTube. You can call that. I'm not going to pick up right away. It's going to go to message because I don't want my phone to ring because my phone doesn't ring really. I don't even have a ringer. But this isn't about not having a ringer. Maybe you should. Maybe you should not have a ringer and just check your phone when you want to. That's kind of where this conversation is going to go. I'm gonna smarten you people up here, and you know when I say that, you know what I mean. I am recording these after I record the episode, so I've already had this conversation. This conversation goes in a lot of places, and so I met this guy 2018. He was in my hypnosis training class at the Northwest Hypnosis Institute. And I've already had on Bruce, who was the one who taught us. And I also had on Crystal, who was in our class. And now another I'm going to bring on my special guest right here and right now. And my special guest right here and right now is Christopher Dalton. You missed out already on Christopher Gold, so that's why you guys get to start with that. But we're talking about life is good and the on a basic level versus a less than basic, or no, more than basic level. There is no less than basic level.
Accretions. It's accretions, right? Mental associations and sort of stucknesses, habits, the neural sort of ruts that we get into.
Right. They're there, man. They're there. Like, and but they're also not there. They're not always there. They're there. Well,
they're
sometimes.
Not there. They're never there directly, right? So we always have this sense that there's something more going on, right? That there's all these other ruts. There's all these other, and not just ruts, right? There's all these other potentials, all these other possibilities, right? That serve as the ground of our existence, essentially. Like the things that we don't even see, like the sun coming up every day, and
Oh, I do.
You do? That's brilliant.
I fucking do, man. I watch the sun come up every day, dude. That's my thing. I do it. I don't know the last day I haven't woke up and watched the sunrise. So many things are the sunset, dude. Like it's always like you got okay, let me do this analogy. Those pictures that people take where they stand on like in front of a building that's got the big fucking wings and shit on it. It's like that. There's always a big line for that. There's always a big line to see the sunset, and there's a bunch of people out. Like if you go to the beach and to watch a sunset, back to the ocean, which you were talking about earlier. You go to the beach, you watch the sunset, and there's a shit ton of people out there. But if you go out and you go to that same beach and you watch the sunrise, there's probably one person walking through there, two people that may be on drugs somewhere, and then you got maybe one other person out there, and that's it. And I mean, yeah, even if I'm sitting down, like the window where I sit in the morning and, have my time to drink coffee and whatnot, I look right out at the sun. And so it's it's good. So even if I don't go outside, I'm at least looking right at the sun and I can watch it rise. And I know that there's not a lot of people at that time doing it. And I've watched, I don't know how many thousands of sunsets in my lifetime, hundreds of sunsets in my lifetime, but before the last 5 years or so, how many sunrises have I seen in my life? Probably less than 100. And so, um, I'm trying to like get all the sunrises I can because not a lot of people get to see sunrises. You gotta be up before the sun before like when all the fucking animals, like the animals start getting up and the I think it was probably because of the roosters where I started getting up before the sun. And when I had roosters, um, they were up and they'd be up before the sun. They'd come right outside my window. These little fucking stupid white silkies, man. They were these little fluff balls. But and when we got them, we didn't know that they were roosters. Had no clue. And then all of a sudden, they both like one starts crowing, and it's every time right next to the window, um, and then the other one started crowing then, and found out that they were two roosters. But once once I got into that, then I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna get up and watch the sunrise because I was out there out in boring and dude, it was, pretty cool fucking view out there out in the country. And, you could just get up and watch the sunrise out there. And it was cool, man, with the fucking, and be out there with the chickens and the goats. Like
Do you
even now, dude.
remember,
Yeah, go
do you
ahead.
remember when those chickens first started coming along, like when they started crowing? What was your mind like? What did you feel? What was your experience initially?
Well, I thought that they were going to be laying eggs, man. I had, I think, maybe two or three other chickens at that point, and then yeah, we got these ones, and they were just, I don't know how old they were. They were
Did
fucking
you enjoy waking up at first in the morning?
like as a kid.
No, no. Like when these
Oh
chickens came along and started crowing outside your
no,
window.
no, I didn't like it. And then eventually, then I just kind of got used to it, and then like, what are they doing? They maybe know something I don't, because like they would usually, especially in the winter, they would be inside before the sun would set and go into their rooster, not into their rooster, their roost, period. Uh
Mm-hmm. Their coop.
their coop and roost, yeah. And they were just they would do that. But yeah, they'd all be outside for the sunrise. Early bird gets the worm, I guess, but the worm, I guess, is maybe literally the worm. Who knows, man? Maybe it is the worm. Maybe there's something with rootworms, but then probably not. But they're up for the fucking sunrise. And
Well,
yeah, I
it's
yeah.
interesting to me that play of going from one to the other, right? And that's a natural meditation on life, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because we always are going to have things that suck. Like there's
Right.
no way to avoid it. But to move on in life, no matter how horrible it seems at the time, there has to be that integration, that quality of, well, this happened, but there's more, right? there's
Yeah.
there's something else unfolding here in front of my eyes besides this horrible thing. For you, just waking up early, right? But for
Right.
some people it's much more intense, but it's the same process. It's the
Yeah.
same
And
process.
getting to something different is all right, man. There's nothing wrong with get into something different.
Well, if you have
And
the support, that's right. That's the difference too. So if you don't have any support, then something different can seem like your life is, suddenly drastically
yeah,
less less well off, right? And I
yeah,
think that's the tricky part is sort of like building into ourselves the knowingness that we need that support, and then basically building that support into our lives on a fundamental level instead of just, like all of a sudden being shit out of luck because life changes, right?
yeah.
And we know it's going to change, right? Eventually, we know that. And yet we don't build that support in. We don't like actually acknowledge like things are going to be more difficult for everybody at some point, not just me. And I'm not talking about like socialism or politics here. I'm just talking about actually like looking around oneself and figuring out, okay, where is it that I really need to like own up to my life? Because if when things do change, these are the sorts of things that I want to take care of one way or another. So what am I going to have to do to deal with that? And I think that's a way of like that, what we were talking about before, the yoga of it, right, is
Right.
actually like bringing everything that we're experiencing into our lives in a way that actually not only moves us forward, but then informs us how to live that much better. And it doesn't
Right.
matter what we're doing. It doesn't matter who we are, what we think, what we want. It's the same process. It's the same learning process, essentially.
Well, and the learning process is part of the process. And if you don't,
Yeah, it's
it,
good.
I mean,
No, that's a good point because it's not always the learning isn't always happening as the learning, right? It's
right.
happening as the mistakes being made, right? And that's what we've sort of become afraid of, I think, not just
I,
in a personal way, but on a sort of societal basis. Yeah.
yeah, I agree. And it's weird that that's the thing, that it's fucking not not making a mistake. Like making a mistake is a bad thing, or having something that fails is a bad thing. Do you
No,
want me to tell you how many
all
things
the
I've failed?
greatest business people have been utter failures, and that's the brilliance of it. That's how they become. I mean, unless they're like just doing what daddy says, one way or another, right? But
Yeah.
otherwise, they have to fail. And it's like, fucking let me fail, let me get out there and fail again, and that's why you don't see like, that's why we do sort of put them on a pedestal at times, but largely for just a lack of common sense that we don't provide like ordinary support for ourselves and each other, right? Because then
Well,
so many more people would be able to play that game, maybe not to the same degree. So you'd still have, and that's what I don't get. It's like all those people would still be well off, right? They would just be that much better off with a whole lot of that much better off customers, all tied,
right.
all boats kind of thing, right? So anyway,
Yeah. No, I mean everyone's got to get up, man. Everyone, then it's
yeah.
it's
Well, that's the
okay
fun.
to.
But I think that's it. Is it's hard because people think that they need to get up when they're ready, or get up when it's time, or like get up like when they have everything that they think they need. And it's like people really need to get up and ask for help. They need to get up and not just like complain about it, but just go out and seek out the support that they actually need. Not just be the clarion call, but actually be the one, like putting people together.
So
Like,
what's the help look like then? Can that be a bunch of different things?
yeah, I don't think that's the thing is I don't think true help, right? When you really think about it, help does not come as some sort of like, oh, let's arrange this, like true help comes when it's needed, and it comes spontaneously because it's just there's a call to action, both within the system and within the individual as a part of that system, right? And that's what we've
Right.
lost track of in terms of all this, like let me get what I want all the time from these just very, specific authorities, and otherwise it's like, oh no, what's going to happen, and it doesn't matter what you believe or what you think, at that point, because it's all in little boxes and oh no outside.
Yeah. And everyone has their own way of getting there. Everyone has their own way of what they want to do with it when they do get there. Because some people are going to reject it. Some people will, yeah, I mean, some people just won't fucking go for it. They won't seek it. And even if someone
Right. And
then,
I think
and that's
the
usually
tricky
when
thing,
I was
sorry.
gonna say, no, it's cool. I was gonna just say that it gets to the part where, they can only do that. That's all they know. And that's all that yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's the point is it's just, there's this sort of like point where people get to where they're like, well, I'm not going to do it unless I get a little help. And then people are like, well, I'm not going to give a little help unless you give, do a little bit, and it's just like this
Yeah.
impasse, and I think that's where where the conventional sort of way of doing things just doesn't work, because
Yeah.
there's no reason to give in that situation for any party. There's not even like wiggle room to move at that point. And that's where we are today, right? That's where we
Y-
are today, where you have the guy who's been through more bankruptcies, who doesn't pay anybody, calling other people losers all the time, and it's a joke, and then you have the other,
Yeah.
then you have the other side. And so it's that's all that we're dealing with here is just basically two boxes that have basically decided that they can make more money, never overlapping. And it's like, well, you then, like
Yeah.
the average person is just completely out of luck in that situation when you have most of the power going to oligarchs, the rich, the billionaires. Frankly, the
Yeah.
billionaire class
And
gets 10%, 90% of what they want, and the average person gets what?
but yeah, you know what? Fucking good for them. They figured it out. I don't think it should be that way, but for right now, man, fuck it. Like,
Well, you know what? But I
whatever.
think it's going to become. I think it's going to become where people are going to see through it, and they're not going to want to play along anymore. That's all.
You
It's
you
just
don't
going to
think
be like,
people have already not seen through it?
no, no, not yet, because like, no, dude. Like, whenever you have people giving $1 million, like what
What's
are
in it
these
for them?
raffle tickets in order to vote, like you got all kinds of stuff. So until people see through that and are be like, oh, okay, like this is how it's played, like for like,
Right.
like
And
seriously. And so yeah, I don't think people are actually gonna wake up to anything until they actually are forced to. And that's such a personal matter. And I think that's what we're dealing with is so many personal matters that are being left unattended because people are just struggling to survive. And I think until that's dealt with on a very like basic level, right? Until more people can just say, yeah, life is good, right? I figured out for myself how I can just deal with this craziness. Until
yeah,
the majority of the population can do that, I think it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle.
it's fucking, I don't know, man. There's a lot of easy parts that could come from it where it would make sense for any of that to be a reality. In the meantime, though, I don't know. I don't know what percent I think of this, but I mean, what percentage of the people that if you're walking down the street and you're going to walk by every single person in the world or, the United States or whatever, how many people would you probably, without saying a word to them, not want to talk to? Approximately.
That would be two. My brain doesn't work that way. Yeah, I can't even, it doesn't mean anything to me, that question, because I just follow my instincts,
Yeah.
honestly. And so I might think I know something, but usually it's just a story that I'm telling myself in order to keep going with whatever thing that I'm going towards, on a very
So,
basic level for me. So yeah, like I
so if
trust I
everyone,
mean, yeah, go on.
okay, if everyone was walking by you, you would stop on. people that you
No, no,
are.
no. It's not even like that for me. I don't, it's like, but I do have a very hypersensitivity to my surroundings. So I am like, I'm sort of like, I'm with the situation and I'm just picking up what people are laying down and I just go with it, And so I don't have any big agenda anymore. I mean, I used to, right? But then I wouldn't see people. Then I would be like not even seeing people, frankly, right? But now it's more I
Yeah,
see people. I mean, I get in my own little, I'm going to the store, I'm doing this or I'm doing that, and I, lose a sense of peripherals. But for the most part, I'm just sort of like, for a long time, I was a socially prescribed perfectionist, So like literally like, oh, like that's what I get whenever we're in this conversation, just because there's this notion of, other people, right? And there's just a little bit of, right? But at the
yeah,
same time, that's just what I've learned to sort of be with. That's what I've learned to kind of like in terms of that's my roosters, right? Like in the
okay.
beginning of my life, it was just like, what's going on? Birds.
Yeah, why is it so early? And
Why is it so early? Why is this happening to me?
yeah, why me?
why,
Why me?
why me?
Why me?
Yes, why me? Why me?
Yeah,
And then we get into something like along the lines of, oh, well, just don't, there is no self, no self, like in that, in antagonism to that experience, right? And not so that we can somehow get to some greater, like, no, just get me the away from that, you know? And
yeah,
that's what we're always kind of like learning to accept that play within the mind and then let it sort of loosen itself up so that there's more of a play there, a conversation there happening, so that you don't have to feel like immediately like, if you don't do something, something horrible is going to happen kind of quality.
yeah. And that's kind of become the reality now. For a lot, we were talking about this, I think last time we were talking about that there's no gray area, or the gray area
Mm.
is just you got the if it's 100 point or 50 points on each side of, one way or the other, black or white, you have probably maybe to, I would say, 4 and 96% that that's kind of what a lot of people right now are accepting. And then anything else besides that in that very much gray area, grayer to grayer area, is it's just an absolution, and there's not wiggle room with that. It's become an absolution of a belief instead of a thought. And I think that the beliefs are becoming more than the thoughts or the concepts of what's going on. I feel it's become a lot more belief, and belief is a lot more concrete, and that's people's core. It becomes their subconscious.
Well, and
And
this is interesting. You're actually, this is a good point, and you also, it begs the introduction of values into the conversation too, as a more even more core level of that process. And I think this is it. There's nothing wrong with this process, right? It's okay to have your beliefs. It's okay to have your biases, right? Frankly, I mean, love is a bias, and that's the
yeah,
whole thing. I mean, I went through the whole like try to be enlightened thing for a long time, and that's the problem with it. Is it's just you can't run from what's happening. It's okay to sort of seek out greater wisdom, but you can't run from what's happening. And I think too often that's what people are encouraged to do in our society, because of that lack of support, because of that lack of like a conversational ability to just, okay, we're going to get through this now. Like we're not gonna, this isn't just to sort of like, oh, can the transaction happen up to my standards or not? It's like, no, shit's gonna go wrong. Like we're gonna have
yeah,
problems.
yeah, gonna have a lot of problems, and ones that, I mean, yeah, I mean, the community is just important. Community of whatever, community
uh
of,
Community as the foundation of true wealth. Because if you look at it, even in like with the wealthiest, right, that's the thing they've learned to do. They've learned to divide and conquer everybody else. And then to whatever degree you can hold on to those socio-relational sort of commitments and contracts, like in an organized and like, well-patterned manner, the wealthier and wealthier you become. And it doesn't need to be like, big money wealth. It's just, it's land wealth. It's human capital wealth. It's all of the things that we know are actually important in life, not just money. We know money is important. Everybody knows it, but we also need to see why it's so important. And it's all those other things that make it so important. That's all, right? And for somebody like me, it's the people in my life. And so that make everything, give everything meaning. And when you live in a world where more often than not, the strictures of transactional sort of equations basically overrule people's actual familial and long time relationships. And it's largely due because there wasn't an exercise of that relationship. There wasn't an investment in that relationship, like as we're essentially sort of describing the necessity for, right?
Right. And I mean, it's real easy to want to steer clear of it, as for a lot of people, but I mean, we all
And that's
need
okay.
it.
I think that's okay. But you know what? Hear me out, brother. I think this is it. We need to stop worrying about what other people are doing so much in general. And this is, I think, what I'm also struggling with myself, is because we need to talk about the situation. So there's all this them kind of languaging, us and them languaging. But really, when it comes down to it, the core of the issue is, okay, what am I going to actually do with my life to build it up? To use what I can to build that support into my life, right? On a personal level. And then it's figuring out, okay, well, what does the conversation mean to me in order to do that, right? How do I have the conversation so that I can actually be actively, like sort of basically telescoping my own needs, my own desire to help, my own willingness to be in community with others, right? Without sounding like a complete jackass.
Right? And see, that's the hard part. And I was trying to explain this to someone today. I was trying to explain that it's, like most of the people I know that I, am around that are healers are have some woo woo, but then definitely have a lot of the tell it like it is though too, which I think is something that it's all there. But both, I think, need to be done. Both need to be used. You can try one or the other, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think we need to make it more personal, bro. I think we need to stop like trying to get like thousands of followers and just focus on the 100 people we claim to actually care about more. It's like I'm done with social media, man. It's a joke. It sucks. Everybody knows it, and we're still like stuck on it. And I'm like done with it. Dude, I have groups on WhatsApp that I find so much more meaningful than any interactions that I'm having on social media anymore. And it's not like that we didn't try. It's like we gave it our best shot. We really did it. And all these rich people put so much money, and now they're going to try to get AI to fix it. Yeah, right. AI is just going to be like, it's a joke. Give it up. Here's what to do. If it's any kind of AI.
I hope so. That would fucking rule.
Well, what else? I mean, really, is this is the grand plan? No, this sucks. So there's got to be more if we're going to keep going this route. Like if technology is going to, what are we going to do? We're in bed with this, we're living with the robots, whether we like it or not at some point.
Right. And, like, I don't know. I think the robots it's as weird as it sounds. I think it's going to be a good thing for a lot of people.
For a lot of people, it's going to be a hard transition, though. The next 10 years, due to climate change, like mass automation, so basically the third world, they're going to have to arm up and freaking figure themselves out like real quick and in a hurry, because there's not going to be the aid. There's not going to be the need for immigration if they get their way. If the big tech gets its way, no way. That's the idea right now, is marrying big tech with the with the anti-immigration so that, you know, we replace people with robots. And I mean, and it, yeah, that's the plan. I mean, and you look at what's happening to people, bro, like people are dying because of robots too right now. We're not doing it right. We're not doing it right.
It's because the wrong people are doing it, and the wrong people
Yeah.
have all the fucking the need for it, and they become a nefarious
Because
robot
power
fucking
corrupts. It just
overlord.
power corrupts. We know that. You know, been some brilliant research, power paradox. You know, by social psychologists. I mean, it's there. You know, we know what power is. It's the ability to help people, and we know that when we get too much of it, we basically take it for granted, right? And so we just assume, oh, well, I help everybody. You know, when you get powerful enough, so you should just be doing what I want you to do because I help everybody. Right. And you can even see
Yeah,
it telescoped in the languaging. I'm this great. I'm that great. You know, and it's like on LinkedIn, even it's infected just even the normal like chitter chatter, like I'm great, I'm this, I'm that. And it's like, give me a break. Like, why does this matter to people who love one another? You know, I go out and I'm in community with my people, and it's like, what do you want to eat tomorrow night? You know, like who needs something fixed? You know, like
yeah,
what are you doing today that you might need help with, or that, you know, I won't be able to help you at all with because I'm doing this other thing, you know, but it's
yeah.
not like, gosh, I'm so great all the time. And it really, that's the social media thing, is it's like I can feel it in my own heart, man, right now. It's a crazy world.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you on social media, dude, and it's hard, and I don't care. And like I've told people, like I've unfollowed pretty much every single thing on there. So like I just go on there and I post, which is stupid. Like that's not even playing the game. I don't even know why I do it. I guess I do it for the other people who are, like on my show.
Well, there's
Like,
nothing wrong with that. But see, this
but
is
there
it.
is.
No, but
There
there
is.
isn't. But why? Why does it
Because
need to be this way? Why does it need to be like, if you're not using it right to gain out your 100,000 followers, you're not enough? You know, why not just
for
do it?
them, it's not me.
But right, who cares? Like, that's what I mean. It's like, what if we just, this is what's so interesting is it's like we have these systems in place that allow us to telescope ourselves in very individualized manner. And yet we're still allowing these very sort of like trite political tropes to govern our interactions with each other. And it's like, who the cares? Like, why are we so beholden to what, like, basically only like 5% of the world can really live like, you know, because they have everything they need to do it that way. You know, the rest of us have to freaking like deal with what's actually happening one way or another, to more or less, to one degree or another. And I think this is what I don't understand is it's just like how people can keep on wasting their lives reaching into a pit of despair instead of just helping the people they love the most.
Because they won't even fucking pick up the phone for you when they call. Because people don't fucking do that. People don't pick up the phone.
So
you can't reach out
we
and
need to
touch
just
someone.
change this. We need to change this. We need to say, dude, don't be a dick. Pick up your phone. Like, just answer the
Yeah.
phone, or don't. And just think of a nice message, you know, like to tell people like, I'm dealing with something. I don't want to talk to people right now. You know, send me a text, you know, like, just,
Yeah.
the thing is right now what we're doing is I have 50,000 followers and I'm a celebrity, or million followers and I'm a super celebrity, or whatever they are now. I don't even know. But
Right.
the problem is once they get into that mindset, it's like, I'm not like you. I'm not you're even living in the same reality anymore, you know? And that's actually what's happening on a neurological level. And I think that's what's hard for people to understand, is that like even I truly believe that in their actions they truly show the truth of their actual like heart, in the condescension that they have towards others, frankly, because I really don't see any more like any valor or any nobility in any of these assholes, any of these billionaires. None of them. You can put any single one in front of me and I'm just like, whatever, you know. Yeah, dude. I don't have any truck with this nonsense anymore. And there's no way to avoid it when you're out there. And I think that's the problem for me. It's like if there was a way to get onto LinkedIn or Facebook or any of these things without their just that ugliness that they just spread just because they can, one way or another, one side or another. And I'm just, it's really crazy. I don't understand why we're not building out more like we are. There's starting to be the kids apps, okay, where they're like safe story, like actually just good stories, like nothing political, just like anybody can listen to and enjoy. And it's like, why not do that? Why not find value in the middle ground, in the consistency of our shared existence with one another, and then invest in that together instead of this BS power mongering, like that we're all trying to play at the littlest levels of our interactions with one another.
Yeah, man. So this show is brought to you by
I don't give up. It's brought to you
yeah,
by these
yeah.
two middle fingers. Like what are we doing with our lives together when we all agree on the same basic complaint, but find that literally nobody's doing anything about it together? It's like, this is the time. It's like, we're done, I think, with this part of the conversation. And now it's like, okay, what are we going to do about it? And there's lots of options, there's lots of, but that's another show, I think. So yeah, can't give this shit away, right?
Yeah, that's part of the you guys, if you want, you can get the
Machetta.
what the patreon.com/rusty diamond and
And I mean,
for
I love it. I mean, and I
79.95
don't want to, I don't mean to be like, I'm not a saint. I'm not like somebody who's terribly idealistic. It's not about like I think like Shangri-La is on the corner, just listen to me. It's more about like let's really like start to lean on each other more, like let's really see what we're made of together,
I don't know,
before we just give up on each other so readily, you know
but dude, I would like to think that okay, so if there was trust falls around the world is the new show coming out on Fox on Thursday night at 11:30 p.m. Not really, but it's gonna be a show now. Now
it
that
could
it's
confuse me.
yeah, now that it's talked into there. But I mean, like, I don't know if people can lean on people physically or like even physically, let alone emotionally.
Yeah, no, I get it. And
And
they won't, and they'll suffer. I'm not talking to people who are just going to sort of naturally ignore me. That's cool. Do what you will. I actually, much love and many blessings. Like, I want you to be happy, right? It's just, I
yeah,
don't think you're going to have much luck playing the game the way they've set it up. And for those of us that already know that and are sort of in this like quagmire about it, that's okay. Like, we're all in the quagmire together. So let's just talk it through a bit more, like we cannot rely on their get rich quick instant fix schemes anymore. Global warming is on its way and it's not going to disappear. Like, and we're not going to just fix it. So now we have to figure out, okay, what is it going to actually mean to live in a destabilizing ecosystem? Like, that's where we're headed right now. And it's all these, oh man, just don't get me started.
you
So,
already started, man. Keep it
well, I mean,
going.
okay. So one of the things with Musk and whatnot is he starts this car company to save the world with those electric cars, whatever BS. And then all of these rockets he keeps putting up are putting so much of the actual, like so many more of the actual chemicals, the global warming chemicals in the atmosphere. And so it's just like, are we really going to, I mean, does anybody really think we're gonna get to Mars anytime soon? Really?
It
Like,
doesn't
this guy
matter.
can't even do a robo taxi, right? He can't do the robot, he can't actually get the robots to be autonomous yet. He can barely do self-driving, frankly, full self-driving. And so I'm just like, I think we just need to get a grip as a society. Not like, I mean, maybe this goes viral, not 15 minutes, but I somewhat doubt that. I think what we more need is just on a regular daily conversation of just like, for real, like, is this really how we want to be together? Like, and really start asking ourselves that and each other that, so that we can find out how to live with one another and how to support one another, you know?
Well, Yeah, and I mean that would be fucking cool, man. Like who wouldn't want
It's
that?
hard to do that. That's why
It's
people don't do it. And it's, but the thing is what we need to do is we need to have spaces, cultural spaces where people can be encouraged to do that, right? Well, we need an alternative to what's going on. And it's not going to happen mainstream. It's not going to happen writ large. It's going to be like over and over again, fractalized in all the different conversations that we're having.
so speaking of Musk again. So do you watch South Park ever?
I
Like
do.
no,
I mean, back in the day, I did. Not really anymore, but yeah,
so
I
there
know what
was
it
one
is.
where Mr. Garrison um hated TSA and the airlines and decided to make his own vehicle. And it's like this circle thing that goes around him, and he starts going through town and doing all this like basically making the airlines obsolete because they can get around in this, and then the airlines come and shut them down. But like there actually was a thing, like someone made that I thought it was like just a thing for South Park, but someone made that a long time ago, like way back. And you're like the Musk shit, those fucking batteries, they have to be made in places that are so far away from civilization. Lithium ion fucking batteries, dude. Like what? Holy shit. And then the cobalt mines in Africa. Do you know how many people die so we can fucking be on this here? And this is brought to you by Zoom here on this fucking whatever brand computer this is. I don't know what brand computer this is. With some cobalt from a mine where probably some African kids died. So you can watch and listen to this show.
Right. And I think the
And
problem
it's
is we're
okay.
stuck in between big business exploitation and a big government sort of charity that doesn't work. We need like real, like on the ground entrepreneurial associations that have deep roots in successful economies to go and help the other countries build out their economies. And we're not, it's just like we're just playing games with them. And they know that. And that's why they're starting to go with Russia and China and Iran. I mean, they do because we don't give them another option. And it's just so obnoxious because we're better than that as a people. I mean, all of us, the average American is better than that. And it's only because the powerful on all sides have gone just totally corrupt. And you ask, go have a real conversation with somebody like Joe Rogan, dude, and you'll find out, like if you can get him behind closed doors, he'll tell you the same thing, dude, because he seems like a real honest guy, and like, I wouldn't agree with him on everything. Like his whole RFK thing, I think is a lark, but I don't like that guy doesn't really impress me. But nonetheless, I do think that he really tries to be honest. And I mean, you can tell just from his lack of excitement and, and he's got his, ear to the rail, his lack of excitement shows you a lot about like kind of where middle America really stands right now, I think, and it's also how stuck they are. I mean, you can see their fear now. People like him, they're afraid. They don't know what to say to their audience half the time, really, because they don't know really what's going to happen. I mean, they're afraid. Basically, the wealthy people who have a big megaphone, they're all afraid of getting hurt, basically, in this environment. And that's what they have to navigate as they're trying to play their games, right? But their games are starting to get, I think, more and more difficult for themselves. And I think as things are going, it's just going to be like, I think enough people are going to start making it difficult and not even more difficult for them over time,
Yeah.
that's what's going to be like push comes to shove. They're going to be like, okay, I can't win this anymore. Like I can't fight everybody, it's like, yeah, I can be a billionaire, but I have to be a billionaire in this way, and other people be like, okay, fine. Thank you. You're feeding,
Yeah.
the people who actually need food instead of just whatever, tossing it to your Dalmatians or whatever, I don't know. What are those other ones? The pointy nosed, the
Doberman.
Dobermans, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and I'm obviously we're talking about tropes, and stereotypes. And that's the problem is it just
You will sleep better than you have ever slept. You've never been this relaxed. Are you ready to change your life? I'm Rusty Diamond, certified hypnotist. You don't need to leave your house. You can stay in your bed. You can stay in your favorite chair.
You just need a computer or your phone.
You can get a hold of me. Stay at home. I'll make your life better.
Hypnosisisgreat.com.
It's like we're going to be reduced to stereotypes when we're living in a world such as this, and nobody really knows who each other or what's going on.
Because stereotypes have made more of a comeback in the past 2 to 3 years than they have our whole lives. And
That makes a lot of sense.
And it's not the stereotypes that everyone claims it to be. It's not the fucking whatever it was back, racial or whatever stereotype before we were born in the 70s and 80s to now. It's like everything's a fucking stereotype. Everything is a stereotype, and it's the stuff that never was a stereotype before.
Well, and I think that's hard. Actually, that's a really good point, because now it's also confusing because it really depends on very particularly how you're relating to your audience and the context to what it's going to mean for you. And yet we live in a world that's fundamentally divided and conquered, and people aren't really encouraged to get to know each other and to really sort of develop those deep relational bonds. Yeah. Right. And so go on. No, I'm listening.
So, I mean, now we have a society where we have people that are wanting to talk and wanting to, oh man, I lost it.
No, you're on it. You're on it though. They want to talk and they want so desperately to relate, but there's not really the cultural or like communications infrastructure, so to speak,
Yeah. Okay. And now the stereotypes, they are getting put into being one person of a group, and that becomes the message of the whole group, what one person says, as opposed to,
that's a really interesting thing about stereotyping. I hadn't really thought of that, but yeah, because then any individual of the stereotype can stand in, quote unquote, for that whole demographic. Right. Interesting.
And I mean, that tends to be a thing, it's the, especially with, there's a lot of panels and stuff or things of that, or, a letter or movie, but it ends up being just, I don't know, like, I'd be pissed off. Whatever group or box or something that you want to put me into, with the stereotype of whatever, there's a lot of other people in that box. And, if I say something, would you want that to represent like the whole rest of the box? Like, oh, it's just what fucking Rusty said. Like, he's part of my box.
But the thing is yes, Rusty, the answer is clearly yes for enough people, for a fair amount of people, and they don't necessarily know why. I don't think it's not like everybody's like, oh yeah, this is what's right and good and wholesome or whatnot. But I do think that there is a certain amount of, if I can get my way this time, sure I will, or I better get my way this time, or else I might not get it the next, kind of thing. And that's, again, that scarcity mindset, right? And that's where I think the basic sort of divide and conquer of the corporates has really undone a lot of their own efforts to support themselves and their overall sustainability, just in terms of the workforce, in terms of education, in terms of how people are getting along or not getting along. Yeah. I mean, they're predicting McKinsey, or some big group. No, I don't think it's McKinsey, it's another group, but they're predicting the great exhaustion in 2026. Right. So these are, so basically they're like talking to all these people, hundreds of thousands, yada yada people in the kind of businesses and whatnot, and they're basically coming to the point where people are just exhausted. Literally, they cannot keep up anymore on a global level. Like, the global workforce is exhausted, and so basically they're just they're not going to be able, I mean, it's already happening in places, you know, but it's because there's not a way for the system to correct itself, correct this imbalance. Yes. And that's the relational. That's where the relational would come in. If people were more interconnected and having more conversations, there would just be like, don't let Johnny go out right now. What are you doing? You know, but there's none of that right now. It's just like, oh, well, you know, Johnny's going to be Johnny, you know, until he's dead, you know, or until he's, you know, trying to rule the world in some sort of, you know, mob scheme or whatever. He's in jail for trying to take a gun to what's her name's head. You know, it's like all these weird, and you see it as a culture too, man. It's not just, there's a reason why you're nodding your head, you know, because there are these cultural tropes, like you're saying, that then get built into these stereotypical cultural, you know, fire hoses, you know, and then we're partaking of them on social media all the time, just in the background. It's just
it feeds so much with your dopamine that it's that instant dopamine too, and
yeah,
just
that's a good
getting
point.
all that, man, and that's the one that's gonna go and I don't want to use the word trigger people, but fucking get them riled up and wanting to interact more, and then that's going to give you more dopamine, and so like there's incentive to
Well, and that's
talk
what's
more
interesting.
about
It's
that.
the difference between interaction and conversation. Like right now, me and you are having sort of both, right? An interaction
Right.
and a conversation, because there's an interactive quality that is apart from the conversational quality, right? If it were just me and you not being recorded, right, that would just be straight up conversation, right? Because there's nothing being recorded. There's no accountability to what we're saying or whatnot, other than our own honest sort of, you know, experience, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference is we're learning how to trust ourselves and one another again, because we've become so dependent on that like external validation of the system, of the big business, of the big government, right? And I think that's where we're being toyed with, though, too, is we're basically being like, it's either, you can either have one or the other, is what the wealthy want to do. And that's the lie. It's like, no, we can actually like begin to let the systems that don't work for us actually fail, and then let new systems emerge that actually work for people. And if we actually are in conversation and supporting one another, even on a basic level, right, just like we would like just support ourselves enough to then support the people we love, right? If we just continue that model, right, in our communities, I mean, we would be capable of so much more. And people who do that are capable of so much more. And I think the difference is now, though, is we don't have a culture of that. We don't have an active kind of like underlying sort of motivation towards that yet. But that's what's coming. That's what's happening. That's what we're part of. And I think there's a shift happening. I think the great exhaustion is going to lead people to go, you know what? I don't need to do this anymore. I mean, look at the world is my oyster on some level, and I'm going to figure out what that means to me.
So how does the person who trusts zero people trust the first person?
You have to learn to be with your own darkest moment. You own your darkest moment, and you say, that is not define me. That is just my darkest moment. And then you build up from there, because once you can own your darkest moment, you can own what you really, really are afraid of in yourself. Then you become fearless one way or another.
Yeah. And
you just have to forgive. Forgiveness and gratitude are the essence of the path. Mere awareness, its ground, freedom from suffering, the result. So all it is it's having the bravery to really basically be with what will actually inform the next moment, right? So when that's terror and when that's fear, you know, and if especially if we've been traumatized, right, then there's a natural aversion to that, right? There's a hyper kind of sensitivity to that, right?
Right.
But then we can also get into this mindset of like, it's okay. It's okay to be this traumatized. I'm at least, you know, it's like, I'm here now, I'm dealing with it kind of quality, rather than like, no, I can be free of this, right? Because there's a natural fear of the trauma result itself. Like it's going to happen again. You know, like if I try to escape this, if I try to make it too good, I'm going to get hurt, kind of thing. And I think that's what we need to confront in ourselves. Like, what are we really afraid of? And I think that's whenever we naturally start to reach out to others, because we're like, oh, I want somebody to help me do this. Like, I don't care if it's the guy on the bus stop at this point. Like, can you just listen to my story, you know, so that I can tell it and really experience it anew somehow, you know, because I'm not able to do it on my own. You know, I need to live this story with other people to rewrite it, you know, and I'm trying to rewrite my story. But when you're like you were saying, oh, sorry, buddy, you know, don't have the time when we're just ghosting each other regularly, right? Then there's not even an opportunity for that. And I think this is where the culture is shifting. We're moving towards a more relational paradigm, but it's going to be a shift and it's a paradigm. And so it's going to be one of those things where critical mass, right? And then all of a sudden everybody's going to be talking about it and it's going to be normal, you know, just to be like, because the younger generation aren't going to have a problem with having more conversations. They're going to love it. Like to actually get what it feels like to like actually be together instead of just this simulacrum of it online, you know, virtual togetherness. They want to feel together. They want family. They want all that good stuff.
They don't know what it is.
Exactly. And our generation is the one that's going to have to reintroduce that culturally, because we grew up with the shit show we grew up with, but we learned from that, like, okay, we got some good parts and we saw what can happen. And now we have to own it. And this is it. This is that same process writ large, right? Owning our own darkness.
Yeah. And don't think everyone's a fucking dumb shit.
Mm.
I think,
well, that's my problem. I actually have that problem. I'm going to be honest, because I've spent so long, like, just giving my all to just trying to do something worthwhile with my life. Yeah. And so sometimes I do get kind of like that. So that's actually, that's a point well taken for myself. I want to own that. Yeah, it's true.
And it can be like, because that might be one of the collective fear. I mean, what do you think the collective fear is? Just that everyone's there. Not everyone, but there's so many people.
A fear of abandonment. It's a collective fear of abandonment, because we've been taught that we have to like take care of each other in a way that we don't really understand personally, right? It's true. It's a cultural heaviness that I think is going to start to relinquish as the natural kind of infrastructures start to meet people's needs, such that they don't need to keep playing these stupid games anymore. They don't need to be in these power dynamics with people who don't really even understand like how to support healthy human communities, you know, and what it means to sort of break into fantastic behavior or a superorganism kind of, manifestation where people are just humming along, like, all together doing great work without necessarily somebody to dictate every little spot along the way, you know, because they want to be there together and it's meaningful. I mean, the thing is, it takes time. This is the other thing, is conversations take time. Interactions happen in a moment, in a fraction of a moment. Conversations take time. And we've grown up thinking that conversations need to be limited to basically what would fit into a half-hour sitcom or less, basically.
Yeah,
you know?
Be 22 minutes and have a solution to every problem, a beginning and solution to a problem in 22 minutes.
And with TikTok, it's like, well, if you can't do the search and find the right video, well, let's think about something else, you know?
Yeah,
it's
dude,
like,
I don't know, my TikTok's pretty badass.
I know everybody loves it. I won't touch it, but I know,
dude, man,
everybody loves it.
It's got me pretty fucking good, dude, and it's like I get to learn. I did have a video today though of a guy that was playing a cello and a kazoo, and he was jumping, doing parkour, like from building to building top to building top, still playing. But that was like the one where I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, but not very,
So I gotta ask you a question, brother. Like,
yeah.
Like when are we going to spend time with one another?
I think that we need to meet people somewhere in the middle, because there's there's got to be a way to slowly integrate back in. I don't think you can just jump people into it.
I think it's brother, this is it. I honestly think that TikTok and social media is it's going to become basically the feed that people get, they're either hooked into or not. And it's going to be what feed you're hooked into on what level and for what reasons, or or not, basically. Because like what I'm seeing is like people are being right and truly captured by these products, by LinkedIn, by Facebook, by TikTok. And I mean, it's very, very entertaining and it's very alluring, but I don't necessarily think it's actually, I don't think that it's capable of actually building out what we actually want is the problem. I think that it could eventually become something different, right? Because enough people, the critical mass is reached, and then all of a sudden everything becomes much different. Little tweaks here and there all of a sudden make a platform totally different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think what it is that the change that we need is just not going to happen on TikTok or social media. That's where the influencers, once the critical mass is reached and they recognize it and see where the tides are turning, they'll start to push it. Then things might change on the platforms to actually integrate. But I think that by that point, people will be right and truly captured, frankly.
Where are people going to go? Is it going to be YouTube videos and watch that? Or is everyone got to go outside and go find everyone out in the wild?
I think it's going to be more more the wild. That's what I actually think it's going to be. I want to do basically a return, an embrace of the non-digital in relationship to the digital. So I don't want to be like a Luddite and say, oh no, we're not going to do tech anymore, but at the same time, I want to be like, okay, but are you going to trade your actual sunrises for virtual sunrises anytime soon? And when that starts to become like what are you going to recognize it if that's what starts to become the cultural sort of push, right? And that's what it's noticing for ourselves. Like, when does the culture actually start to move me in a direction that I really don't want to go? And I think too many people are in a place where they don't really know where they stand in relationship to the addictive sort of dopamine hooked sort of mechanisms that are driving the platforms, all of them.
Yeah, and that's how you get them.
That's how you get them, right? And I can't even. So I don't even. It doesn't even work for me anymore because the dopamine fix is no longer reliable enough. Because what I've realized is my relationships with people provide so much more dopamine over time. It just takes longer to actually implement the relationship.
How do I get rich fast?
Well, this is it. It's like good luck with that. Most good get rich quick schemes are for the people who write them, are the get rich quick scheme for the people who are selling them. That's the point of them. And so if the story is the shortest get rich quick scheme is to write a get rich quick book. That's the whole name of the game, frankly. And so, yeah, you all can keep playing that. And I'm happy to just be here for you when it doesn't work, but I'm not interested in playing that game anymore. I want to do something fundamentally different that I know is just so much more rewarding, especially in the long term.
Why not have AI make you an app that would integrate and only have a community, either video or fucking picture or talk, but just to only further the experience of the people? Even okay, so do you know about this portal? Not like the portal, but like there's a portal that was one's in New York, one's in Dublin, and now there's one in Philadelphia. And I mean, it went down.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about now. Yes, where they can see each other through them in real time or whatnot.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that would be cool. I mean, but then you got, just sort of, I don't know how many people you can get on at once, and then or how you could get people to interact, and then how
But
do you
see,
get
this is
people
it.
not to do
I
weird
don't
shit?
think this is the problem is that so many people are in the same, asking the same question instead of just like, how do I have good conversations with the people that are around me? Like, because the thing is if you know how to have good conversations, right, then it's things move really pretty quickly and like they start to happen. It's like, it's the problem is we've lost the ability to sort of just naturally operationalize our own relationships because we somehow think that if that's wrong or bad, and that's what the wealthy are doing all the time to be wealthy. They're
Right.
operationalizing their relationships. The relational is 100% transactional. It's we make all of our emotions, of all of our decisions based upon our emotions. Like without emotions, you actually don't have decision-making capacity at all. That's how important it is. And that's what we've become distended from as these little buying machines, and so we just don't know how anymore to actually have those good conversations. And that's where I think this is why we're having this conversation is this is our effort to have the good conversations that actually move the whole forward. Right.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah.
yeah, dude. And that's what, because I mean, yeah, like this show, I've had some people come on and I mean, it's great. And I like at the end, I like let them fucking plug their shit. But some people come on just to talk about their thing, which is great sometimes. But sometimes it gets kind of weird. And I'm like, dude, this is not all what I want for this show. Like what the show needs to be is like this. It needs to be having these conversations, getting these conversations out, showing that, and then showing that people can have different opinions and still have a conversation and find the greater good in whatever it is, as opposed to picking the one or two things out that are different about you, that's
Yeah.
become a belief now, and then that's something
Yeah.
concrete, and not letting there be just a little bit of wiggle room for people to get in there and be able to have that conversation with more people.
Or a lot of wiggle room. Like, come on, we don't have to like beg for scraps here. It's like
Right.
we're all human beings. And like a lot of the homeless people on the street sometimes have more dignity than the people walking by refusing to give them money. Right. And it's not in their, the decrease in their stature, obviously. And that's where I think a lot of people, we get into this like poverty mentality where it's like we glorify like not having. And that's not the point. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's not in their poverty or in their willingness to just, do with less that their dignity lies. It lies in how often these people give their own money away. How often they give of themselves to perfect strangers when they have an opportunity. And that's why they're so freaking poor. Because they cannot help themselves. And I've seen this time and time again with people. And it's yes, you could call it a weakness, you could call it a flaw, right? But at the same time, are we not just villainizing one of the most gracious aspects of our shared humanity by virtue of the lack of support, the everyday support that we desperately want to give one another, but don't know how to even ask for? Right. And this, I think, is, if I could say anything, this is the call. We all want to ask for more. We all want more, not in a way of like, right? But we want to appreciate each other more. We want to be in each other's lives more. We want more with and from each other. And it's okay. Like wanting that is okay. And we just can't make those demands of each other. We have to let that be a conversation. We have to make ourselves vulnerable to that and say, this is what I want more of. Can you help me or not? And then if they can't, move on.
Yeah.
Find somebody else to have a common. We're however many billion strong for now. Let's take advantage of it. Let's, really optimize this time and human in our shared humanity, even if it's not going to be here for long and only like 20% of us can actually avail ourselves of it with any meaningful significance. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. Bring it on.
Yeah. Yeah. See what number we can get to.
Let's just see, and the number
We're
thing,
not.
like, I love it that you brought that up, right? Because to me, it's like, let's see how many numbers we can find, let's
Yeah.
see what each number holds for us, and then honor that as we traverse, the path together, like how some of us might just want to stick right here, one way or another. And like, are we just going to really deny each other that, the ability just to be okay where one ends up if one is still contributing, or has contributed,
Yeah.
and I think that's it. It comes down to this. In anthropology, all advanced societies are essentially identified by how they treat their weak and infirm. Basically, the more advanced a society, the better they can treat their people. That is a standard, right? And you can break up, us and them, who deserves, who doesn't deserve, kind of mentality, right? But fundamentally, as a species, like, that's where we stand together. It's like, if we don't take care of each other, right, we will suffer. Like, there is no other route in that. And people can think that, like, one corporate structure or government structure is going to support them, but we all have seen how foolhardy that really is. And so we don't need to just abolish one thing or another. Politics, it's useless. It's only there to help the rich, basically. Conversations and community action is where real people get to have power.
Yeah. Fucking community action, community, man. Like,
what it is about, what it is though, is I can feel that resistance in you a little bit, right away, right, on some level. And I think what it is we feel, because so much has been forced on us. So what it is, it's just accepting that the community is just the people that you love. It's just your people. And that's all it needs to be. Like, you don't need to have it be more complicated than that. And that's the thing is instead of like doing that and then letting it grow naturally as a community, we have this idea of like, no, it needs to be a certain thing. No, it's already there. The people that you treat like shit on a daily basis are in your community, and that's why your community sucks.
That's fucking important. Let's end it there, man. I don't know. What if people want to find you somewhere in a back alley?
They'll reach out to you, and you can just get them in touch with me, man. Yeah,
okay.
That's the way I roll. It's like if they really want to find me, they'll find me. Yeah.
Man, yeah. Fuck yeah. That should be everyone now. just reach out to me.
Sign of the times, baby. Don't worry, it's gonna catch on. It's a paradigm shift. It's like, we can trust each other. We can trust this. It's just, we have to do it in our own way. We can't just be like, yeah, I trust you. Yeah. No, we have to really be there for each other if we're gonna say that we're there for each other. We have to learn how to do that again. And I think that's one thing, is just, we need to have a way of embracing each other's sensitivities without playing to them. We need ways of like, yes, I know you're sensitive and I'm going to honor that, but let's just see if you can just leave, because sometimes you're going to have situations where you're going to have to meet but then do it with a real sense of, oh shit, they're hyperventilating. That's not okay. We're not here to push them to their absolute maximum. But maybe if they start getting a little twitchy, that can actually be okay. Where then we come in and we say, all right, just breathe into that now. And then we watch them just slowly de-escalate their whole nervous system. And that's what friendship is, right, brother? When we can be there for each other that way. Yeah. Anyway, I could go on and on with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, dude. Have a fucking rad day. We'll talk soon. All right.
All right. Cheers.
All right. That's Christopher Dalton. So I guess you gotta get a hold of me. I'll put you in touch with him. I'm like his agent now or something, I guess. So yeah, you wanna get talking to Chris, you hit up old Rusty Diamond. And you can do that by going to rustydiamond.net. You can do that by going to hypnosisisgreat.com, or you can go to popuphealing.net. So you can do those. You can find this show on YouTube, Rumble, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And this is the Public Access Podcast on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. And that is the show, Man Boom!
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.